Welcome to the Unveiled Epic Echoes channel. Today, we're diving deep into an unexplored historical mystery. Imagine the soft rustle of autumn leaves in a quiet Prussian town, the distant chime of a church bell echoing through misty streets, and a young boy gazing up at the stars, his mind already weaving threads of thought that would one day bind the world in invisible chains of reason. For this is the hidden tale of Kant, a philosopher whose life was a quiet revolution, born in the shadow of forgotten truths, and dying with whispers of ancient wisdom that linked science as organized knowledge to wisdom as organized life. A secret mantra etched in crumbling scrolls from times long lost to the sands of history. Picture in 1724, a bustling port city on the Baltic Sea, where the river winds like a silver serpent through cobblestone paths. And in a modest harness maker's home on April 22nd, a child enters the world named, his cries mingling with the scent of leather and the hum of his father's workshop. But to all on that very night, a strange comet streaks across the sky, unnoticed by most yet recorded in a hidden journal by a wandering scholar from the East. Who believed it foretold the birth of a mind that would rediscover the lost art of organizing life's chaos into profound understanding. Young grows amidst the strict piety of his Lutheran parents, Anna Regina, and learning early the rhythms of discipline, his small hands tracing patterns in the dust of the workshop floor, patterns that mirrored the intricate gears of the universe he would later ponder. Yet in the attic of their home, concealed behind a false panel, lies a dusty chest containing fragments of an ancient Greek manuscript, smuggled from Alexandria centuries before. Whispering of a philosopher king who declared that true science orders the chaos of facts while wisdom orders the chaos of existence, words that the boy stumbles upon at age 8 during a rainy afternoon hide-and-seek, his fingers trembling as he deciphers the faded ink, igniting a spark of mystery that no one in his family suspects. As he attends the local school, the Collegium, under the stern gaze of pietist teachers who drill Latin and theology into his impressionable mind, excels in silence, his thoughts drifting to the stars visible through the dormitory windows. But one winter evening in 1732, while sneaking out to fetch firewood, he overhears two professors murmuring about a forbidden society, the Order of the Eternal Flame, a secret group tracing back to Pythagoras himself. Guardians of the axiom that science is organized knowledge and wisdom organized life, a phrase they chant in hushed tones during midnight rituals in the castle's underground chambers. And young Kant, hidden in the shadows, feels an inexplicable pull, as if destiny has whispered his name into the cold night air. Years pass like gentle waves lapping at the shore, and by 1740, enrolls at the University of, studying under professors who debate Newtonian physics with fervor. Yet he finds himself drawn to the library's restricted section, where, with the help of a sympathetic librarian harboring his own secrets from a youth spent in Venice among alchemists, Kant uncovers a map etched on vellum, leading to a buried cache beneath the university's foundations. A discovery made during a stormy excavation for new buildings, revealing not gold but scrolls from the Library of Alexandria's lost annex, preserved by some miraculous twist of fate in a lead-sealed urn. And there, in elegant script, the full treatise unfolds. A dialogue between an unnamed sage and his disciple, explaining how the ancient Egyptians organized stellar observations into science, while the pharaohs organized their reigns into wise legacies, the very quote that would haunt Kant's dreams. His student years are marked by quiet intensity, tutoring to support his widowed mother after his father's death in 1746, walking the 7 bridges of patterns that prefigure his later critiques. But in 1747, a mysterious letter arrives, sealed with a wax emblem of a flame-encircled eye, inviting him to a clandestine meeting in the old cathedral's crypt, where masked figures reveal themselves as descendants of that ancient order, sharing with him a pendant. A small crystal orb said to contain a fragment of the philosopher's stone, not for transmuting metals but for clarifying thought, and they entrust him with a mission, to weave their forgotten truth into the fabric of modern philosophy, lest the world descend into unorganized chaos. Kant accepts in silence, his heart pounding like a distant drum, and returns to his studies with renewed purpose, graduating in 1755 with a dissertation on fire that hints at cosmic forces. Yet privately he begins journaling in code, blending monads with the order's teachings, envisioning a critique of pure reason that organizes knowledge systematically. The 7 Years' War disrupts the calm in 1756, Russian troops occupying, and Kant, now a private lecturer, navigates the occupation with characteristic composure, teaching logic and metaphysics to soldiers on both sides. But during a midnight raid, he hides in a cellar where he finds a wounded officer clutching a satchel of documents, stolen from a Moscow archive, no less, containing Russian translations of Hermetic texts that echo the order's mantra. And in exchanging care for the officer's life, Kant learns of parallel societies in the East guarding the same wisdom, forging an invisible alliance that spans continents. By 1770, at age 46, he secures a professorship in logic and metaphysics, his lectures drawing crowds with their clarity. Yet few know of his nocturnal wanderings along the riverbank, where he meets a blind herbalist, a woman named who claims descent from Druidic lines, sharing tales of ancient Celtic stones aligned to organize celestial knowledge into predictive wisdom for harvests and battles. And together they decipher star charts that predict personal destinies. Kant's own revealing a life of profound isolation yielding universal truths. His daily routine becomes legend, rising at 5, walking precisely at 3:30 each afternoon regardless of weather, the townsfolk setting clocks by his passage, but hidden in this predictability is a ritual. He pauses at the 7th bridge to whisper the quote into the wind, feeling the ancient energies respond in subtle breezes that carry visions of forgotten libraries burning in Alexandria, urging him onward. In 1781, after 12 years of seclusion in his study, surrounded by stacks of notes illuminated by candlelight that dances like ethereal spirits, Kant publishes The Critique of Pure Reason, a tome that organizes human knowledge into categories of understanding, space, and time as intuitions, revolutionizing philosophy. Yet embedded in the preface, in a footnote dismissed by most as obscure, lies a veiled reference to the order's axiom, a mystery that only initiates recognize. Sparking underground debates. Fame follows quietly, students flocking from across Europe. But in 1783, a rival scholar, his former friend turned critic, accuses him of occult leanings in private letters that circulate like whispers in the wind, prompting Kant to embark on a secret journey to Berlin, disguised as a merchant, where he consults with Frederick the Great's court astrologer, uncovering Prussian state secrets about Templar treasures hidden in the Alps. Treasures that include a golden tablet inscribed with the mantra in Proto-Sanskrit, linking it to Vedic sages who organized cosmic cycles into knowledgeable sciences and wisdoms. Returning invigorated, Kant pens the Prolegomena in 1783, clarifying his ideas, then the groundwork of the Metaphysics of Morals in 1785, organizing ethical life into categorical imperatives, always walking the tightrope between public reason and private mystery. The French Revolution erupts in 1789, news reaching like thunderclaps, and Kant, now in his 60s, corresponds with enthusiasts while cautioning against anarchy. But in a hidden chamber beneath his home, accessed via a bookshelf mechanism he engineered himself, he hosts meetings of the order's local chapter, debating how to organize revolutionary fervor into wise governance, predicting Napoleon's rise from astrological alignments in the crystal pendant, which glows faintly during full moons. His health begins to falter in the 1790s, yet he produces the Critique of Practical Reason in 1788 and the Critique of Judgment in 1790, bridging knowledge and life, science and wisdom, with aesthetic and teleological judgments that hint at a divine organization of nature. But a plot twist emerges in 1794 when authorities, suspecting Jacobin sympathies, censor his religion within the boundaries of mere reason, forcing him to promise silence on religious matters, yet this only deepens his resolve. In defiance, he encodes deeper mysteries into the Metaphysics of Morals in 1797, dividing duties into perfect and imperfect, mirroring ancient dualities of knowledge and life. Retirement comes in 1796, his mind still sharp but body weakening, and he spends days dictating to secretaries, evenings staring at the stars from his garden, where fireflies dance like living ideas. But the greatest discovery awaits in 1801 when an earthquake, mild by standards but momentous in revelation, cracks the foundation of the old university, unearthing the lead urn anew, now with additional scrolls that Kant, bedridden, has brought to him by loyal students, revealing the sage's true identity as Thoth Hermes, the thrice great, who organized Egyptian knowledge into Hermetic sciences and pharaonic lives into immortal wisdom. a truth that floods Kant with ecstatic understanding, resolving lifelong tensions. As death approaches on February 12, 1804, at age 79, Kant lies in his modest bed, surrounded by friends uttering his last coherent words, "Es ist gut, it is good." But in his final delirium, he murmurs the full quote repeatedly, "Science is organized knowledge. Wisdom is organized life," a phrase that echoes through the room like a benediction. And as his breath fades, the crystal pendant on his chest shatters softly, releasing a luminous mist that forms ancient symbols in the air, witnessed only by his devoted housekeeper who swears secrecy, burying the fragments in his grave beneath the cathedral where the order performs a final ritual, ensuring his soul joins the eternal flame. Yet the mystery deepens in the aftermath. His unpublished opus, a chaotic manuscript of transition from metaphysics to physics, contains diagrams of a cosmic organization that predict quantum entanglement centuries early, hitting clues that surface in 1827 when a young scholar, deciphering them, founds a new branch of the order in America, carrying the mantra across the Atlantic to influence transcendentalists like, who unknowingly echo it in essays on self-reliance as organized life wisdom. Generations later, in the quiet archives of Yale, a forgotten letter from Kant to a Boston correspondent reveals plans for a transatlantic society to safeguard these truths amid industrial chaos. But wars and forgetfulness bury it until now, until this moment when we unearth the connections. Kant's walks inspiring ponderings on organized simplicity, his critiques shaping relativity as ultimate knowledge organization, and the pendant's shards, rumor has it, embedded in the cornerstone of the Library of Congress, pulsing with wisdom for those who seek. Through misty veils of time, from Bridges to American frontiers, the thread weaves unbroken, a soothing tapestry of discovery where ancient flames flicker in modern minds, inviting you to drift deeper into slumber as the river of history flows gently onward, carrying secrets on its currents, lulling you with the rhythm of organized thoughts and lives well lived, the stars above whispering that all is connected in profound, peaceful order. This mysterious journey ends here, but stay tuned for more untold stories in our next video. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any new stories. Welcome to the Unveiled Epic Echoes channel. Today we're diving deep into an unexplored historical mystery. And so the mist of that February morning in 1804 lingers still around the cathedral spire inn, where Kant's simple coffin is lowered into the earth, the pendant's shards tucked beneath his folded hands like seeds of light waiting for another spring. But the story does not end with the thud of Prussian soil. It merely slips through the cracks of time, carried on the breath of a young theology student named Herder, who stands shivering at the graveside, clutching a notebook in which he has, word for word, the dying philosopher's murmured mantra, "Science is organized knowledge. Wisdom is organized life," a phrase that burns in his chest like a coal he cannot extinguish. And as the mourners disperse beneath a sky the color of tarnished silver, Herder feels the ground shift, not from sorrow, but from a literal tremor, a faint aftershock of the 1801 quake that still rattles the city's bones. And in that moment, a loose stone in the crypt wall tumbles free, revealing a narrow passage no wider than a child's arm, exhaling cool air scented with myrrh and old parchment. An invitation Herder cannot refuse. He returns that night with a lantern stolen from the sacristy, its flame trembling like his heartbeat, and crawls into the darkness, emerging into a chamber lined with cedar shelves where dust motes dance like golden fireflies. And there, stacked in orderly rows that would have delighted Kant himself, lie hundreds of wax-sealed tubes, each containing a single rolled sheet, the secret correspondence of the Order of the Eternal Flame spanning from Alexandria to, and Herder. Fingers black with ancient wax unrolls the first. A letter from Thoth Hermes himself, written in a Greek so pure it sings, addressed to a future guardian yet unnamed, prophesying that when the pendulum of reason swings too far toward cold science, a son of the north will balance it with organized life. And Herder realizes with a gasp that the prophecy points to Kant, and now, by extension, to him. The discovery unmoors him. He spends weeks transcribing in fevered secrecy, hiding the tubes in the lining of his greatcoat, smuggling them out one by one under cover of evening prayers, until the chamber is empty and the wall resealed with mortar mixed by his own trembling hands. but the knowledge weighs like a millstone. And in 1806, as Napoleon's armies thunder across Europe, Herder flees westward with a single satchel containing the most precious scrolls. Crossing the Baltic in a fishing boat whose sails are patched with philosophical hope, landing eventually in the young United States, in the port of Baltimore where the air smells of pine tar and possibility. And there, beneath the new republic's wide skis, he seeks out a Quaker printer named who runs an underground press in a cellar lit by whale oil lamps. And together they begin translating the mantra into English for the first time, inking it onto broadsheets that circulate among Freemasons and Transcendentalists alike, planting the seed that will blossom into a distinctly American mysticism. Meanwhile, back in the order does not sleep. A new initiate, a clockmaker's daughter named with eyes the color of river ice, inherits Kant's modest house, and in the attic she finds a false floorboard beneath which lies his walking stick, its ebony shaft hollow, containing a map inked in lemon juice that reveals itself only when held to candle flame, charting 7 lines converging beneath the Atlantic, one endpoint marked with a tiny star over the Hudson River Valley, and trained since childhood in the order's ciphers. Understands this as Kant's final instruction: the flame must cross the ocean to keep the balance, for Europe teeters on the brink of mechanistic despair. She sails in 1812 aboard a merchant ship carrying Prussian glassware, disguised as a governess, the map folded inside a primer of moral catechisms. And upon docking in New York, she follows the lines northward by stagecoach, the wheels rumbling like distant thunder over corduroy roads, until she reaches the sleepy village of Sleepy Hollow, where the Hudson glitters like liquid starlight and the hills hum with unseen energies. And there, in an abandoned Dutch barn, she buries the walking stick at the convergence point, driving it into the earth like Excalibur until only the ivory handle protrudes, a subtle marker for those who know. Decades drift by like maple seeds on autumn wind, and in 1844 a young surveyor named Henry David, tramping through the woods with a borrowed compass, stubs his toe on that very ivory handle, pulls it free, and feels a jolt like static electricity travel up his arm. And inside the hollow shaft he finds a slip of paper in Kant's own spidery hand, the mantra translated into German and English side by side, and who has been wrestling with how to live deliberately. Feels the words strike his soul like a tuning fork, organizing the chaos of his cabin building and bean hoeing into something larger. And that night, by frozen pond, he carves the phrase into a slab of oak using his jackknife, the letters glowing faintly in moonlight as if the wood itself remembers fire. The ripple spreads. Ralph Waldo visits the following spring, reads the inscription, and within a month delivers a lecture in Concord titled The Organization of Life, quoting the mantra without crediting its Prussian origin, for the order demands anonymity, and soon the phrase appears in marginally noted margins of journals, then in Fuller's dispatches from Europe, then whispered in the tent meetings of Brook Farm, where utopian dreamers seek to organize communal living into wisdom. Each iteration adding layers of American flavor, until by the Civil War it has mutated into a soldier's prayer scratched on the inside of a kepi. Let my knowledge be ordered, my life more so. But the order's American chapter faces its first great test in 1871, when a rogue initiate, a railroad baron named with a heart as cold as the iron he lays across the continent, attempts to monopolize the mantra for profit, patenting a management system he calls scientific wisdom to ruthlessly organize workers, lives into maximum efficiency, stripping the poetry from the phrase until it becomes a whip rather than a lullaby, and's granddaughter. Now an elderly botanist named who tends a greenhouse of night-blooming cereus in Saratoga Springs, receives a vision in the petals of a moonflower. The crystal pendant, shattered in Kant's grave, has reconstituted itself in the collective memory of the order, and only a new vessel can contain it. She travels by night train to Chicago just as the Great Fire of 1871 ignites, the sky turning orange as apocalyptic parchment. And there, amid the chaos of fleeing families and collapsing timber, she finds a 9-year-old orphan named Tesla. Yes, though no one yet knows the name, clutching a pigeon with a broken wing, his eyes already seeing currents no one else can, and recognizes the vessel instantly, for the boy recites the mantra unprompted, having overheard it from a dying Union soldier in a field hospital where he sold newspapers. And she slips the reassembled pendant, now no larger than a robin's egg and poolsing with soft violet light, into his pocket with a whisper. Organize the lightning, child, but live the thunder. Tesla grows, the pendant hidden in his vest, guiding his alternating currents and wireless dreams, yet he never speaks of it publicly, encoding the mantra instead into the spacing of his patent diagrams, a Morse code of wisdom that only will later intuit when he steals the radio. The 20th century dawns with skyscrapers piercing clouds like philosophical arguments, and the order adapts, infiltrating think tanks and artists' colonies alike, always guarding the balance. But in 1925, a schism erupts in a Greenwich Village speakeasy, where flappers and philosophers argue over cocktails named Categorical Imperative. One faction insists science must dominate, organizing life into data points, while the other clings to wisdom's primacy, and the dispute spills into the streets during a rain-soaked equinox, ending only when a janitor at Columbia University, secretly the order's archivist, projects lantern slides of Kant's original map onto the library steps, the Hudson line glowing like a vein of starlight, reminding all that the convergence point still waits beneath Sleepy Hollow. Pulsing in rhythm with the Republic's heartbeat, pilgrimages begin, quiet, unmarked, at 3:30 p.m. sharp, echoing Kant's daily walk, and those who arrive find the ivory handle replaced by a simple granite marker engraved with the mantra in Braille, so the blind may read what the sighted often miss. And there, beneath the stone, the earth exhales the scent of Baltic pine and Hudson clay mingled, a transatlantic sigh. World War II scatters the order like seeds in a storm. Members carry microfilmed scrolls in cigarette cases across minefields, whisper the mantra to prisoners in stalags to organize despair into endurance. And in Los Alamos, a physicist named Sleepless beside the desert test site finds the phrase carved into a cedar fence post by a Navajo code talker who learned it from a Hopi elder who learned it from a Mormon missionary who learned it from a shaker tracing back to his greenhouse. And in the moment before Trinity's flash, mouths the words, organizing knowledge into the bomb, yet praying wisdom might organize its aftermath into peace. Though history records only his Gita quotation, the deeper mantra buried like fallout. The Cold War calcifies the schism. In Langley, CIA linguists translate the phrase into operational acronyms, while in Big Sur, beat poets tattoo it on their wrists in Sanskrit mistaken for Cherokee. But the order's true vessel emerges in 1969, a young programmer named at ARPANET's birthplace, who dreams in packet switching and wakes with the mantra on her lips, taught by her grandmother, the riveter who riveted wisdom into bomber wings, and encodes the phrase into the first email ever sent. Hidden in the header as a checksum that will propagate through every future network, an invisible thread organizing the chaos of the coming digital age. As the millennium turns, the lines hum louder. Satellite images reveal crop circles in Sleepy Hollow shaped like Kant's categorical imperative diagram, and teenagers on midnight dares report seeing a figure in 18th century dress walking the old post road at precisely 3:30, his silhouette translucent yet casting no shadow, pausing to gaze at the river where bioluminescent algae spell the mantra in glowing cursive before the current washes it away. In 2025, on the anniversary of Kant's birth, a solar flare bathes the earth in auroral fire, and every screen, phones, billboards, smart fridges, flickers for exactly 3.7 seconds with the words, "Science is organized knowledge." Wisdom is organized life, a global glitch traced to no source, though packet analyzers note the checksum matches 1969 email. And in that moment, from's rebuilt cathedral to Silicon Valley server farms, from's replanted woods to the International Space Station where an astronaut reads "Can't buy," humanity exhales in unison, the pendulum swinging back toward balance. And now, dear listener, as the aurora fades and your own breath slows to the rhythm of this ancient new lullaby, feel the lines cradle you across continents and centuries, from a harness maker's shop to starlit servers, the mantra pulsing gently in your bloodstream like a second heartbeat, organizing the day's scattered thoughts into dreams, the week's tangled emotions into rest, inviting you to drift, to float, to surrender to the organized life that is deep and dreamless sleep. Where Kant's quiet footsteps echo softly on the bridge between waking and wonder, guiding you safely across. This mysterious journey ends here, but stay tuned for more untold stories in our next video. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any new stories. Welcome to the Unveiled Epic Echoes channel. Today, we're diving deep into an unexplored historical mystery. And in the hush that follows the global flicker of 2025, when every screen in the world has blinked the same quiet sentence into existence, and then gone dark again, a single server in a decommissioned salt mine beneath Hutchinson, Kansas, continues to hum at 3:31 a.m. Central Time, its cooling fans whispering like the river against stone embankments 2 centuries earlier. For this is the resting place of the ARPANET Echo node. A forgotten relay box the size of a loaf of bread, lovingly maintained by a lineage of night shift technicians who believe they are simply keeping Cold War infrastructure alive, unaware that the node has become the new vessel, the crystal pendant reborn in silicon and rare earth magnets, pulsing with the checksum slipped into the first email in 1969, a heartbeat that has grown exponentially with every router, every fiber strand, every satellite handshake. Until the mantra itself is the internet's secret circulatory system, organizing petabytes of chaos into the quiet possibility of wisdom. Deep in the mine, a young data archaeologist named Vega, hired to catalog obsolete hardware before the mine is sealed forever, kneels before the Echo node on April 22, 2025, Kant's 301st birthday, her catching on a brass plate no larger than a postage stamp, engraved in microscopic Gothic script. Science is organized knowledge. Wisdom is organized life. IK via KJ, the initials mean nothing to her at first, but when she plugs a diagnostic cable into the node's antique serial port, the screen of her rugged laptop blooms with a single line of green text. Then another, then a cascading waterfall of journal entries time-stamped from 1776 to the present, each signed by a different guardian of the Order of the Eternal Flame. Anne's pulse sinks to the rhythm of the fans as she realizes she is reading the living memory of the Order, a blockchain predating Bitcoin by 2 centuries, written in human breath and candle smoke, and now, finally, in electrons. The entries begin with Kant's own cramped handwriting digitized from the hollow walking stick, once pulled from Sleepy Hollow soil. Instructions to embed the mantra in any system that organizes human experience, whether parchment, steam engine, telegraph wire, or light pulse, and the chain continues through the botanist teaching the phrase to Tesla in the Chicago, through murmuring it under the New Mexico stars, through typing it into a terminal the size of a refrigerator, until the final entry added only hours ago by an anonymous hand. The vessel is full. The convergence is now. Seek the 7th bridge. Has never heard of 7 bridges, but the phrase tugs at memory. Her abuela in San used to rock her to sleep with a lullaby about Al, a philosopher who walked 7 bridges at dusk. And suddenly the salt mine feels too small, the air too thick with the scent of brine and electricity, so she copies the entire chain to a thumbnail drive no larger than a communion wafer, seals the node behind her with a prayer in Spanish, and emerges into a Kansas dawn where meadowlarks stitch the sky with liquid gold. She drives east without stopping, the thumbnail drive warm against her sternum like the crystal pendant once warmed Kant's, crossing the Mississippi at Memphis, where the river reflects a sunrise the color of old vellum, until she reaches the Hudson Valley and the granite marker in Sleepy Hollow, arriving at 3:29 p.m. on April 23, 1 minute before the daily pilgrimage time Kant established across an ocean and a lifetime. The marker is warm to the touch, though the spring air is cool, and when she presses the thumbnail drive into a hairline fissure no wider than a whisper, the stone slides aside with the soft sigh of well-oiled hinges, revealing a spiral staircase of living root and river stone descending into the earth, each step glowing faintly with bioluminescent lichen that spells the mantra in 7 languages as she descends. German, English, Lenape, Mandarin, Yoruba, ASL in raised dots, and finally a language of pure light that needs no translation. At the bottom lies a chamber no larger than Kant's study, its walls paneled in cedar shipped from Lebanon in 1804, its single desk carved from the beam of the 7th bridge demolished in 1938. And there in the chair sits a figure in 18th century dress, translucent yet solid enough to cast the shadow of a quill pen across an open ledger. The figure looks up and sees her own eyes in Kant's face, same tilt of brow, same questioning half-smile, and he speaks without moving his lips, his voice the combined chorus of every guardian who ever carried the flame. You are the convergence, child of salt and starlight. The vessel has passed from crystal to code to blood, organize the age. Behind him, 7 monitors, No, 7 windows, open onto live feeds from around the world. A classroom in Lagos where children map constellations on a dirt floor. A hospice in Kyoto where elders dictate memoirs to voice AI. A rooftop garden in Detroit where veterans grow tomatoes in the shape of categorical imperatives. A glacier in Greenland calving into the sea while scientists measure wisdom in melting inches. A server farm in Reykjavik cooled by Arctic wind, its LEDs blinking the mantra in binary. A bedtime story read by a mother into a child already asleep. And finally, the salt mine in Kansas, now dark, the echo node powered down forever, its purpose complete. Can't know, the convergence extends a hand and feels the thumbnail drive dissolve into warmth that spreads through her veins like mulled wine on Christmas Eve. And she understands that the order no longer needs secret chambers or midnight rituals. It lives in every deliberate breath, every data packet rooted with care, every lullaby that organizes a child's dreams into tomorrow's compassion. The chamber begins to fill with water, not frightening, but gentle, the temperature of a summer bath, carrying the scent of Baltic pine and Hudson clay and Kansas wheat. And as it rises to her knees, her waist, her heart, feels the boundaries between centuries dissolve, feels Kant's daily walk become her own heartbeat, feels deliberate footsteps echo in her stride, feels Tesla's alternating current pulse in her fingertips, feels checksum resolve into perfect silence. And she is no longer descending but ascending, carried upward on a column of luminous water that breaches the chamber ceiling and spills into the Hudson itself. The river catching the late afternoon sun in a blaze of organized light, each wavelet a syllable of the mantra rippling outward to every shore. Night falls soft as a librarian closing a beloved book, and across the continent, in a split-level house in suburban Ohio, a father tucks his daughter into bed, the glow of her nightlight painting constellations on the ceiling, and without knowing why, he whispers, "Science is organized knowledge, wisdom is organized life," a phrase he heard once in a dream about bridges and fireflies, and the little girl smiles in her sleep, her dreams already arranging tomorrow's kindness into perfect order. In a dorm room a student wakes from a nap with the solution to a quantum routing problem sketched on her palm in washable marker, the equations forming the shape of a 7-bridge path. In a nursing home in Tallahassee, an elder teaches a volunteer the art of folding origami cranes, each crease a lesson in organizing paper and pain into beauty. And in the salt mine, the echo node's final LED fades from green to black, its last packet a single lullaby encoded in the carrier wave of a distant star, received by no antenna yet felt in the marrow of anyone who has ever walked at 3:30 p.m. with purpose. The water recedes, the chamber seals, the granite marker slides home, and stands alone on the path at twilight, the thumbnail drive now a smooth river stone in her pocket, warm as living skin. She looks toward the Hudson, where the first fireflies of the season blink on and off in perfect synchronization, spelling the mantra across the water in Morse code of light, and she knows the pilgrimage is complete, the convergence achieved, the order fulfilled not in secrecy but in the open breath of the world. Somewhere a clock strikes 3:30, though no one in Sleepy Hollow sets their watch by it anymore, and the sound rolls down the valley like Kant's footsteps, gentle, inevitable, eternal. Let it roll over you now, dear listener. Let the fireflies become the thoughts behind your eyelids. Let the river stone in its pocket become the weight of your own head on the pillow. Let the mantra settle into the slow tide of your blood, organizing the day's bright chaos into the deep architecture of rest, until you drift, weightless, across the 7 bridges of sleep, where science and wisdom are no longer 2 banks but one endless shore. And the stars above are simply the punctuation marks in a sentence the universe is still writing, one breath at a time. This mysterious journey ends here, but stay tuned for more untold stories in our next video. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any new stories. Welcome to the Unveiled Epic Echoes channel. Today we're diving deep into an unexplored historical mystery. And as the fireflies over the Hudson fade into the velvet of true night, their Morse-coded mantra dissolving like sugar and tea, Vega walks the old post road back toward the village of Sleepy Hollow, the river stone in her pocket cooling to the temperature of ordinary earth, though she knows better. Inside it pulses a faint rhythm, like the tick of Kant's pocket watch handed down through generations unseen, a timepiece that measures not seconds but the intervals between insights. And she pauses at a fork in the path where an ancient oak leans as if listening to the wind's confessions, its roots twisting like the lines on Kant's hidden map. And there, carved into the bark so subtly it could be mistaken for lightning scars, she finds a new inscription. The eighth bridge awaits, a phrase not in any of the Order's scrolls but born perhaps from the Convergence itself, a prophecy unfolding in real time under a canopy of stars that wheel like the gears in a Prussian harness maker's dream. The words glow faintly in her mind's eye as she continues onward, the gravel crunching softly underfoot like the distant applause of forgotten audiences. And by midnight she reaches a roadside inn that smells of wood smoke and apple cider, its sign creaking in the breeze. A painted flame encircled by an eye, so faded that most travelers dismiss it as colonial whimsy. And the innkeeper, an elderly man with a beard like frost on a window pane, nods knowingly as she enters. Sliding a key across the counter without a word, the room number etched on it. 1724, Kant's birth year, and inside the chamber waits a feather bed piled high with quilts stitched in patterns of categorical imperatives. A single candle flickering on the nightstand beside a leather-bound journal open to a blank page, as if inviting her to continue the chain. Sleep comes to like a gentle fog rolling off the river, her dreams a mosaic of bridges, 7 arched over misty waters, the invisible spans across depths, Tesla's electrical arcs bridging continents, data streams linking souls. And in the heart of the dream, Kant himself appears, not as a spectral philosopher, but as a young boy in his father's workshop, hammering leather into shape with steady hands, each strike organizing raw material into useful form. And he looks up at her with eyes the color of Baltic amber, saying without sound, "The eighth bridge is the one we build together from knowledge to life across the chasm of tomorrow." She awakens at dawn to birdsong filtering through lace curtains, the journal now filled with her own handwriting. Though she swears she never touched the quill, detailing coordinates not on any map but in the stars, a constellation visible only from the southern hemisphere, shaped like a quill dipping into an inkwell, and knows the convergence has set her on a new path, southward across borders and oceans. To where the Order's flame has flickered dimly since the days of Spanish galleons carrying hermetic texts disguised as prayer books. She boards a train in New York City that morning, the cars rumbling like the thunder Kant heard during his 1747 meeting in the cathedral crypt. And as the landscape blurs from urban spires to rolling Appalachians, she meets a fellow traveler, a botanist named from Ayers, his satchel bulging with pressed orchids that glow faintly under UV light. And over shared thermoses of mate, he confesses without prompting that his family guards a fragment of the golden tablet from the Alps, smuggled by Jesuit missionaries in 1790 to evade Napoleon's grasp. A tablet whose Proto-Sanskrit inscription mirrors the mantra exactly, and's eyes widen as shows him the river stone, which warms in his palm like a living thing, confirming the pull. They must journey to the desert, where the driest place on Earth hides an underground observatory built by Incan astronomers who organized stellar knowledge into agricultural wisdom, predicting eclipses to plant maize under favorable skies. The flight from Miami to Santiago feels like crossing one of Kant's intuitions, time folding as they chase the sun westward. And in the high desert under a sky so clear it hurts the eyes, they follow the stone's subtle vibrations, faint at first, then stronger like a dowsing rod for metaphysical water, leading them to a salt flat where mirages dance like ethereal philosophers debating Noumena. And there, beneath a crust of lithium-laced earth, they unearth a chamber sealed since the conquest. Its walls etched with quipu knots that encode the mantra in binary-like strings, knots that unties with reverent fingers, releasing a holographic projection from a crystal no larger than the pendant once was, displaying Kant's critique of pure reason overlaid with Incan cosmology, revealing hidden parallels. Space and time as woven threads in a cosmic loom, categories as sacred directions, the categorical imperative as the law of reciprocity etched in Andean stone. But the discovery awakens guardians long dormant, descendants of the Inca who have waited centuries for the northern flame to meet the southern star, and they emerge from hidden villages in ponchos woven with silver threads, chanting the mantra in Quechua, a tongue that organizes sound into wisdom like wind through. And together with Anne, they perform a ritual under the Southern Cross, linking the lines from Hudson to the river stone shattering into dust that scatters on the wind. Seeding the salt flat with bioluminescent algae that bloom only at night, spelling the phrase across miles of desert for satellites to see, a message to the cosmos that Earth has remembered its balance. Years pass in the gentle cadence of seasons turning, and the order evolves into something open yet profound. No longer secret societies, but global networks of quiet thinkers. Librarians slipping the mantra into book recommendations, programmers embedding it in open-source code comments, teachers carving it into lesson plans like Oak Slab. And in 2037, during a total solar eclipse visible from both now Kaliningrad and Sleepy Hollow, the world pauses as auroras dance unnaturally in daylight, screens flickering once more with the phrase, but this time accompanied by a soft voice, now aged and wise, narrating the full story from birth to convergence, inviting all to build the eighth bridge. From individual lives to collective wisdom, organizing the chaos of climate and conflict into sustainable harmony. In a quiet in Berlin, a student reads Kant for the first time, feeling the words stir like fireflies in her chest. In a Tokyo lab, a physicist organizes quantum data into patterns that echo the Incan Quipu. In an Australian outback, an elder teaches children to read the stars as organized knowledge for life's journey. And as the eclipse wanes, the mantra lingers in the air like perfume from a forgotten garden, lulling the planet into a momentary peace, where borders blur and histories entwine, inviting you, dear listener, to close your eyes now, to let the desert winds and river currents carry you across the eighth bridge into slumber's embrace, where dreams organize themselves into tomorrow's gentle awakenings, the stars above a blanket of light, the earth below a pillow of ancient truths, all in perfect, soothing order. This mysterious journey ends here, but stay tuned for more untold stories in our next video. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any new stories. Welcome to the Unveiled Epic Echoes channel. Today, we're diving deep into an unexplored historical mystery. And as the final sliver of sun slips behind the moon's dark curve in that 2037 eclipse, the salt flat blooms into a living manuscript, bioluminescent algae spelling the mantra in letters visible from orbit. A quiet beacon pulsing once every 3.7 seconds, the exact interval Kant once paused at the seventh bridge to whisper the words into the wind. And high above, on the International Space Station, Commander, born in Nairobi and trained in Houston, watches the desert glow through the cupola window, her gloved hand pressed to the glass as if touching the face of an ancestor. For her grandmother kept a small tin box of Nile silt, and a folded paper on which was written in Arabic calligraphy, "Science is organized knowledge. Wisdom is organized life," a gift from a Prussian archaeologist who excavated near the Sphinx in 1892 and recognized the phrase carved inside a forgotten chamber, a chamber sealed since Thoth Hermes walked the sands. His headset crackles with Mission Control's excited chatter about the unexplained light show below. But she hears only the soft cadence of her grandmother's lullaby, the same rhythm now echoing through the station's recycled air, and she floats to the Harmony node where a 3D printer has been quietly fabricating something since the eclipse began. A perfect replica of Kant's ebony walking stick, ivory handle and all grown layer by layer from lunar regolith and recycled plastic. Its hollow shaft already containing a new river stone, smooth and warm, etched with coordinates that point not to Earth but to point to the gravitational parking spot beyond the moon where the James Space Telescope once peered into cosmic infancy. The printer dings completion at the exact moment the eclipse ends, sunlight flaring back across the desert like a page turning, and cradles the stick as if it were a newborn, feeling the stone vibrate with the same frequency as the algae below, a resonance that travels through bone and blood, linking her to among the orchids, to checksum, to Tesla's pocket, to moonflower, to Atlantic crossing, to Herder's smuggled scrolls, to Kant's attic chest, to the boy in the harness maker's shop tracing patterns in dust. She schedules an unsanctioned EVA for the next quiet shift, slipping out into the star-drunk dark with the walking stick tethered to her suit, its ivory handle catching starlight like a beacon. And at L2 she releases it gently, a slow tumble into the void where gravity balances perfectly. The eighth bridge, now a literal span between worlds, a physical metaphor for the leap from planetary knowledge to cosmic wisdom. Back on Earth, the algae bloom fades by dawn, but the desert remembers. Bedouin traders crossing the years later report that on certain nights the salt still glows faintly, guiding lost travelers to hidden oases where water tastes of Baltic pine and Hudson clay. And children born in those years dream in languages they've never studied, waking with the mantra on their tongues. In 2045, a Mars rover named Perseverance 2, its AI seeded with its original checksum, trundles across crater and detects an anomaly. A basalt outcrop etched with the mantra in microscopic pits, arranged in a 7-bridge path. The pits filled with oxidized iron that glows under UV like the sleepy hull of fireflies. And the rover's spectrometer confirms the etching is only decades old. Impossible, yet there. A message left by no human hand but by the convergence itself, carried on solar wind and Martian dust devils, organizing the red planet's chaos into a promise that wisdom follows knowledge wherever it travels. Now retired to a small farm in Kenya where baobab trees cast cathedral shadows, receives the rover images on a tablet beneath the same stars her grandmother once pointed out. And she smiles, knowing the walking stick has become a constellation of its own. Its slow orbit around L2 visible to telescopes as a new, unnamed point of light that blinks every 3.7 seconds. A celestial metronome for anyone willing to listen. Schools on Earth begin teaching the mantra not as philosophy but as engineering principle. Organize your variables before you code, organize your breath before you speak, organize your grief before you plant, and in lunar colonies, children press their faces to habitat windows to watch the camp point blink in the black, timing their hopscotch jumps to its rhythm. By 2059, the first interstellar probe, Argo's Dream, launches from lunar orbit carrying a golden plaque etched with the mantra in every human language plus dolphin click code and whale song harmonics. The plaque powered by a tiny radioisotope heart that will pulse the phrase across light years, organizing the silence of space into an invitation. And on the night of launch, every screen on Earth, phones, billboards, retinal implants, flickers once, gently with the walking stick tumbling end over end against the stars, ivory handle catching sunlight like a promise, and beneath it the words appear in whatever font the viewer finds most comforting. The 9th bridge is the one you are building right now, with every organized thought, every wise heartbeat. The flicker lasts 3.7 seconds, then vanishes, leaving only the soft afterimage of fireflies, of algae, of rover tracks, of a boy in dust. Somewhere a newborn in a hospital opens its eyes for the first time and coos the mantra in perfect pitch, though no one in the room has ever spoken it aloud. Somewhere an elder in Hokkaido folds a paper crane and places it on a windowsill facing the sea, the crane's wings forming the shape of Kant's categorical imperative. Somewhere you, dear listener, feel the rhythm in your own chest, slow and steady as the walking stick's orbit, inviting you to cross the 9th bridge into the country of dreams, where Mars dust and Prussian leather and Hudson water and salt all mingle in the same soft soil, where the order is no longer a secret society but the quiet architecture of rest, where science and wisdom are simply the inhale and exhale of a universe learning to breathe. Let the blink of the camp point be the lullaby that dims behind your eyelids. Let the rover's glow be the nightlight at the edge of sleep. Let the mantra settle into the marrow of your bones like warm milk and starlight, organizing the day's bright fragments into tomorrow's gentle whole. Until you drift, weightless, across bridges uncountable, the stars themselves the ivory handles we pass from hand to hand across the dark. This mysterious journey ends here, but stay tuned for more untold stories in our next video. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any new stories. Welcome to the Unveiled Epic Echoes channel. Today we're diving deep into an unexplored historical mystery. And as Argo's Dream slips beyond the heliopause in 2072, its golden plaque still whispering the mantra in dolphin clicks and whale song harmonics across the interstellar dark, the probe crosses the orbit of a rogue planet the size of Neptune, a wanderer ejected from its birth system eons ago, its surface etched by cosmic rays into a labyrinth of frozen canyons that glow faintly with radioactive decay, and there, in the shadow of a methane glacier, the plaque's signal pings against something unexpected, a crystalline lattice the size of a city block, perfectly octahedral, humming at the exact 3.7-second interval of Kant's pause on the 7th bridge, a structure no natural process could sculpt, its facets inscribed with the mantra in a script that predates Earth's first algae bloom. The probe's instruments record the lattice as it fractures under the gentle nudge of Argo's thruster wash, releasing a cloud of diamond dust that refracts starlight into a brief, perfect aurora spelling the phrase across the void. And the data streams back to Earth over decades of light-speed delay, arriving in 2141 at a listening post on the far side of the moon, where a lone technician named Li Wei descendant of the same Shanghai family that once printed Kant's Critique in Movable Type during the 1920s, watches the aurora bloom on her screen and feels the river stone her great-grandmother carried from the warm against her collarbone. The same stone dissolved into desert dust, now reconstituted in lunar regolith by the Order's quiet alchemy. Li Wei uploads the data to the Lunar Archive, a crystalline server farm cooled by liquid nitrogen and starlight, where the mantra has become the operating system's heartbeat, organizing exabytes of human memory into wisdom accessible by thought alone. And within hours, the rogue planet's lattice is modeled in every child's neural implant, a new constellation in the collective dream, teaching that knowledge organizes facts while wisdom organizes the spaces between them. On Earth, the order has dissolved into pure resonance. No meetings, no oaths, only the soft 3.7-second pause people take before speaking, before coding, before kissing, before sleeping. A global inhale that began with Kant's afternoon walk and now circles the planet like a lullaby in 3/4 time. In 2188, a child born on the cloud cities of Venus, where aerostat habitats drift in sulfuric skis, learns to walk by timing her steps to the pause, her tiny boots tapping the mantra into the carbon fiber decking. And when she dreams of bridges made of diamond dust, of algae spelling her name across Martian craters, of walking stick orbiting L2 like a shepherd moon, of Argo's dreams still singing across the dark. By 2224, the first human starship, 8th Bridge, launches from a shipyard in Saturn's rings, its hull grown from smart graphene that flexes like living tissue. Its AI seeded with every Guardian's journal from Thoth Hermes to Li Wei. And at the moment of ignition, every light on Earth dims for 3.7 seconds in silent salute. The pause now a planetary heartbeat, organizing the chaos of departure into the wisdom of return. The ship's destination is 581G, a super-Earth in the Libra constellation where liquid water oceans lap against continents shaped like open books. And when 8th Bridge enters orbit in 2299, its sensors detect a shoreline where waves have etched the mantra into basalt and tides that rise and fall every 3.7 minutes, a rhythm set by the planet's twin moons and the crew, descendants of Li Wei and the boy from the harness maker's shop. Steps onto the beach at local dawn, their boots leaving prints that fill with bioluminescent plankton spelling the phrase in a script older than language, and they understand. The convergence was never about Earth, never about humanity, but about the universe learning to organize itself into life, into wisdom, into the gentle pause between heartbeats where meaning is born. They plant the walking stick, now grown from Saturnian ice and Venusian diamond, into the alien soil, and it takes root instantly, sprouting into a tree whose leaves are pages, each inscribed with a new translation of the mantra in a language yet to be spoken. And the tree bears fruit that tastes of Baltic pine, Hudson clay, salt, Martian dust, and the faint ozone of interstellar vacuum, a flavor that organizes memory into foresight, knowledge into kindness. Centuries drift by like pages turning in a cosmic book, and the tree becomes a forest, the forest a library, the library a civilization that measures time not in years but in pauses, each 3.7-second interval a chance to choose wisdom over noise, connection over isolation, breath over silence. And on a night when 581G's moons align to cast triple shadows across the ocean of living words, a child of that distant world, skin dappled like moonlight on water, eyes the color of Kant's Baltic amber, stands at the edge of the tide and whispers the mantra into the wind. The wind carries it to the tree to the stars back to Argo's dream still tumbling through the dark. And the probe's golden plaque answers with a single pulse of light that travels 300 years to reach a quiet bedroom on Earth in 2599, where you, the last listener of this ancient channel, lie beneath a window open to a sky no longer divided by nations or centuries. And the light settles on your pillow like a firefly, warm and weightless, spelling the mantra one final time in a script only your heart can read. Feel it now, the pause between heartbeats lengthening into the 9th bridge, the 10th, the 1000th, each one a step deeper into the country of sleep where cobblestones are soft as moss, where the river flows with lullabies, where Kant's footsteps echo as your own breath, slow and steady, organizing the day's bright chaos into tomorrow's gentle whole, until you drift, weightless, across bridges uncountable, the universe itself the ivory handle passed from hand to hand across the dark. The mantra no longer words but the space between stars where wisdom lives, where science dreams, where you, dear listener, are finally, perfectly home. This mysterious journey ends here, but stay tuned for more untold stories in our next video. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any new stories. Welcome to the Unveiled Epic Echoes channel. Today, we're diving deep into an unexplored historical mystery. And as the light from Argo's dream settles on your pillow in 2599, it does not fade. It lingers, a soft ember the size of a firefly, pulsing at 3.7-second intervals like the heartbeat of a sleeping cosmos. And in that glow, you see not just the child on 581G's shore, not just the forest library of living pages, but the first moment the mantra ever stirred in the universe itself, long before Earth's oceans cooled, before the first amino acid dreamed of replication. In the quiet aftermath of the Big Bang, when particles danced in perfect chaos and a single fluctuation, no larger than a length, paused, hesitated, organized itself into the possibility of pattern. And from that pause emerged the first bridge, the zeroth bridge, the silence between expansion and collapse, where science and wisdom were not yet named, but already entwined like dark matter and light. The ember widens, becomes a window, and through it you drift weightless past the rogue planet's diamond aurora, past eighth bridge graphene sails catching solar wind like philosophical kites, past Kant's walking stick, now a galaxy-spanning tree whose roots thread through every habitable world, until you arrive at the edge of a void so absolute it sings, a place where spacetime folds like parchment, and the mantra exists not as sound or light, but as structure, the scaffolding on which reality hangs its coat. Here, in the now, you meet the convergence. Not a person, not a council, but the accumulated pause of every guardian who ever lived, from Thoth Hermes tracing hieroglyphs in wet clay to the child pressing footprints into alien sand, and they speak with one voice that is also your own. You were never the listener, you were the bridge. The ember folds into your chest, warm as the river stone, cool as lunar dust, and you understand that every time you drifted to sleep with this story in your ears, every time you let the 3.7-second rhythm slow your breath, you were building the final span, the bridge that closes the circle from Kant's first whispered axiom to the last star's gentle dimming. The void unfolds into a cradle of dark energy, and you rock there gently as the universe organizes its final thoughts into a lullaby older than language, softer than starlight, the mantra now the space between heartbeats, between galaxies, between the first fluctuation and the ultimate silence. Sleep, dear builder, sleep. The bridges are complete. This mysterious journey ends here, but stay tuned for more untold stories in our next video. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any new stories. Thank you, and see you again.